And now the floor is yours, Mario, please.
Baluchistan people is one of constant struggle to secure the political, economic rights and also self-determination rights. There seems to be no end to the atrocities in Baluchistan with reports of forced disappearance and mutilated bodies dumped in mass graves. Reports and discoveries of mass graves have been documented by several human rights agencies, yet unfortunately the UN and the world community is silent while this mass atrocities and incidents are taking place. And we collectively here, all of us together, but also us to get the message out there, that we do have a moral responsibility. And the UN as well, especially as an international body in this particular setting that we're here at, has also a legal duty, as the Pakistani government is also a signatory to many international human rights conventions, and has a duty as well, the UN as well, to investigate human rights violations that are taking place in Baluchistan. All world communities got together back in 1998 and during the Vienna Declaration and Programs of Action. They stated in several articles, in Article 1, for example, the conference states that the World Conference on Human Rights reaffirms a solid commitment of all states to fulfill their obligations to promote universal respect for and observance and protection of all human rights and fundamental freedoms for all in accordance with the Charter of the United Nations, other instruments relating to human rights and international law. The universal nature of these rights and freedoms is beyond question. The Declaration goes further to state that all people have the right to self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. The World Conference also reiterated the international community's fight against torture, and they decided that torture is not allowed under any circumstances. This has also been enforced by the Convention Against Torture. And Article 5 of the Declaration states that the World Conference on Human Rights emphasizes that one of the most atrocious violations against human dignity is the act of torture, the result of which destroys the dignity and impairs the capacity of victims to continue their lives and their activities. And that the World Conference on Human Rights reaffirms that under human rights law and international humanitarian law, freedom from torture is a right which must be protected under all circumstances, including of times of internal or international disturbance or armed conflicts. The Vienna Conference reaffirms that it is the responsibility of the states to take effective measures to prevent enforced disappearance. Now, what happens when the state, not individuals, are the perpetrators and are the ones involved in forced disappearance, as Mr. Kumar mentioned, what took place, for example, in Latin America and what is taking place now in Baluchistan? What can be done for the state, in fact, to stop and to these extrajudicial killings that are taking place and to investigate? Now, we all know that we can't get the Pakistani government and the Pakistani army to investigate itself. The international community needs to put pressure on Pakistan to respect international law, yes, and stop these atrocities. But also we all have a collective responsibility. Human rights violation could soon escalate as the Pakistani government recently passed a new controversial law, was about to the Pakistan Protection Ordinance, which legalized forced disappearance. By what it means is that this particular law, instead of strengthening human rights instruments, which is what we did in the country, the government instead wants to strengthen the rights of the army to act with impunity. Pakistan's government blames the victims, not the perpetrators. And the Asian Human Rights Commission says that it has found 169 bodies in mass graves in the Pakistani government of Baluchistan. The corpses are believed to be members of groups calling for greater autonomy and rights in Baluchistan. and the Asian Human Rights Commission suspects that there are some of the thousands of Baluch who are reportedly arrested and kidnapped by Pakistani security agencies. The Commission as well has called on the United Nations to send a fact-finding mission to ascertain the truth behind these killings. Pakistan's government denies the claims made by the IRC, of course, and blames again the Baluch people itself for the killings. Baluchistan is one of Pakistan's poorest regions, although it has a vast natural resources. The Baluch people want their rights to be respected like everyone else, and address a range from human rights abuses, greater autonomy, and increased royalties from the region's abundant natural resources. Pakistan will not allow an independent inquiry in Baluchistan, nor will they allow human rights organizations. Only the UN can send fact-finding missions to investigate, and that is all that we're asking here today in this panel. There is no transparency in Pakistan. Nations have a responsibility and a duty to ensure that all of their citizens benefit from the development process. This is something that is denied daily by the people of Baluchistan. The Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhumane, and Degrading Treatment or Punishments was adopted in 1994. The Convention Against Torture, which Pakistan is a party to since 2010, they signed it and they ratified it much later, requires the states to take effective measures to prevent torture within their borders and forbid states to transport people to any country where there is reason to believe they are to be tortured. A fact-finding mission is the only solution, as there will never be proper investigation by the Pakistani government. And this is the only way also to bring the perpetrators to justice, so we have transparent and an accountable process. Thank you very much.